And you're going to set it in front of me, right? Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right,
Good to be
guys.
back in football.
Yeah. All right, y'all, you can fire away when you're ready.
Hey, Randy. Nice to see you. This is Matt Paris from the Washington Times.
What's going on, Matt?
I was just curious. You've been here a couple of years now. What is it like? First, what is it like working with Ron? But then, two, how do you kind of evaluate the overall running back room? Is this the deepest running back pool you kind of had to work with the last couple of years? How would you evaluate the situation?
Well, first of all, working with Ron has been awesome. You know, I've always been a big fan of his. Being from North Carolina, I got a lot of family, you know, that was praying for me in this whole transition. You know, that are big fans of Ron, just big fans of the Panthers. And so when they heard that I had the opportunity to stay and work alongside him, they was extremely excited, just like me and my family were. And you talk about the running back room. I mean, it's deep, you know. But I think the biggest thing is when you talk about depth, you can't have too much depth at any of your positions, especially at the running back position, because it's such a volatile position. You're getting hit on it every play. It doesn't take but one shot, you know, and then you're playing with your second guy, and then your third guy becomes your second guy. And so I think the thing is we do have depth, but we also have guys that are versatile, you know, and guys that is going to make each other better because of that deepness. It brings out the competitiveness in them in terms of each day trying to make each other better.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Randy. Ben Standig with Ben Standig with the Athletic. Obviously, everybody makes a big deal about offensive playbooks and coordinators having different systems and things like that. And you obviously have to teach players in training camp things going along those lines beyond, in addition to the fundamentals. I'm just curious, what are some of the things that maybe you're going to emphasize to some of the backs, especially the young guys with the new guys, that's more in line with what Scott Turner's looking to do versus what you were doing under Jay Gruden?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is when you look at this system, you know, and Scotty has done a great job in the offseason, you know, in terms of the virtual meetings. It has been extremely difficult, but everybody's in the same boat, you know, dealing with a pandemic, and, you know, you can't work with the guys. I haven't been able to work with the guys until now. And but in this system, to answer your question, you know, one thing that's a little bit different is the volume of routes that the running back has. Being able to read zone, man, different little nuances that he's carrying with him from Carolina, what they use with McCaffrey. So that's the thing that I'm excited about as a coach is in terms of the flexibility of the running back, being able to line up outside and taking advantage of mismatches and getting guys out in space, you know, comparatively in terms of some of the things that we've done since I've been here.
Thank you.
Hey, Michael Phillips here. Wanted to ask you about Bryce Love. You've known him for a year now. We haven't got to see him on the field. Obviously, his college production speaks for itself. But what are we going to get to see when we finally see him on a football field?
Well, I think the biggest thing is when you look at Bryce, you know, a phenomenal career at Stanford. You know, the number one thing, I've been knowing Bryce since he was in high school, actually recruiting him when I was at the University of North Carolina. And I think the biggest thing is what you get is a player that has some of the same tools as his Stanford, you know, teammate and McCaffrey, a guy that can line up outside and catch the ball, has some flexibility. He's a kind of a tweener where he can run between the tackles but also attack the edges with his speed and his quickness. And I think it's just for him is just having confidence in terms of making that cut, you know, and getting hit. And that's the thing about having no preseason games. You know, I will say that it hurts him as a player because he has not played. But I'm sure all the practices that we have lined up, we'll get a clean evaluation of him. But we're excited to have him back.
Hey, Randy. Les Carver at the Washington Post. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Wanted to ask a little bit about Antonio Gibson. How do you see him? Do you see him more as the running back? Is he a receiver? Is he mostly working with you guys? How does he fit into all of this?
He's an athlete. That's what he is. Just a couple of days that I've worked with him, he's a guy that, you know, he's got good size. I mean, you look at his body, he's clay. You know, when you look at him. For a guy that did what he did when he was at Memphis, just the sample size of runs, the explosiveness, to be able to hit the home run. But then he has this background where he's played quarterback, he's played receiver. So when you talk about offense with him, he just doesn't see it from the standpoint of a running back. He sees it from all aspects, because he's played all these different positions. But I see a guy that can catch. I see a guy that can make a guy miss. I see a guy that has the size to run between the tackles, a guys that can attack the perimeter, like they've done at Carolina with McCaffrey, a guy that can give you mismatches in the passing game. So I'm really excited about his development and the opportunity to work with him.
Hey, Randy, Sam Fortier with the Washington Post. Thanks for doing this.
How you doing, Sam?
When you talk about the volume of routes, I wonder, maybe even more than you're accustomed to coaching, how does that change kind of how you approach, coaching your running backs?
Well, let me say this. I'm excited because it stretches me. As a coach, we always want to be challenged, right? And so for me is learning or emphasizing something that I haven't emphasized in a long time. We had this is going back. But when we were at Oakland, when I was playing, we had a guy named Charlie Gardner. It's going back to telling you guys my age. But we John Gruden had a myriad of routes that could, number one, go from a particular read, depending on the look, and then it's a different route. So in this offense, that's what you're talking about. A guy that has to be able to read coverage, be able to read guys' leverages, and make the right decision and still be in tune with the quarterback. And then the other thing is, I'll fail to mention, Coach King, Jennifer King, who's assisting me, coming from Carolina. She's played receiver. She's played quarterback, pretty good athlete. And because of her knowledge of the offense, she's been great in terms of being able to turn over the things that she knows in terms of being able to give it to the players so that we can get what we need to get done.
And when you talk about looking at coverages and converting routes, obviously you have guys in that room like JD or Antonio who have done that, but then guys like AP or guys who might not have done that. I guess because of the shortened time you have with them, what do you think are reasonable expectations for those guys who haven't spent as much time running those routes, converting them off looks?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing for Sam is the fact that as a coach, my job is to put players in position to be successful. So number one, okay, everybody's not going to be running some of the routes, but everybody has to be responsible in terms of knowing how to do it. So there may be a handful of things that we ask 2-6 to do that's right in his wheelhouse. Adrian, compared to Geiss, or compared to Antonio, who's got a background in running routes as a receiver, to ask him to do a little bit more of those things. So we're going to make sure that everybody knows exactly what to do, how to do it, the way we want it to do to get it done, and then we just got to find the individuals that can do it the best.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Randy, this is Pete Haley with NBC Sports Washington.
What's going on, Pete?
I got a really quick one before my serious one. Can you ask Ron to make sure the running backs stay in that corner of the field near the media, because we love having you there and we'd hate to see you guys leave.
Gotcha, man. I'm sure of all the many things he got to take care of, he'll put that on the top of his list. Yeah, right. Okay.
The serious one here. I'm sure this is one that has a million answers, but can you pinpoint one or two things about Adrian that allows him to just continue to churn up yards even as he becomes a 35, 36-year-old running back?
Well, first of all, number one, okay, when God made him, okay, he just said, hey, you a football player. And he gave him all the tools, okay, the physical stature, the speed, the vision, being able to understand angles, that he's a natural runner. That's number one, just God-given ability, okay, things that you can't coach. Number two is, I think that's what's his longevity is, and people will not talk about this, is that he had a stretch where he didn't play a lot of football, when he came to the Redskins, right? So in terms of that, he was able to pretty much get rejuvenated, you know. And you think about the COVID situation, we're not having the guys and grinding on them. They're at home. We're having Zoom meetings, right? So I think with this situation, even though it hurts us as a new staff, okay, but as a player that's 30, you know, older player, I won't ever say his number because he'll get mad at me in terms of how old he is, but in terms of a guy that's older, this is something I feel like that will rejuvenate him, and he'll come back just like he normally does, in shape and ready to go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Randy. Nikki Jabala from the Washington Post.
Hey, Nikki.
Hi. What can you tell us about Darius Geiss and how he looks to you? I know it's been limited so far in terms of on-field time, but what are you expecting from him? And is there anything mentally that you have to work with him, just having come back from so many injuries, if you think that affects him mentally at all?
Well, Nikki, I think the biggest thing is what I've seen from him is Darius has a whole set of tools that a lot of players do not have. He can catch it, he can run it, he can block, you know, all those things you ask a running back to do, okay? And also be able to get the tough yards and short yardage situations and make those explosive plays. You put on his what I call the splash reel, right? And I always tell him this. Only thing you did this past year, you was an appetizer. I want the whole steak. I want the lobster. I want the whole thing, right? So when you talk about injuries, the biggest thing we do is we don't talk about them, you know. But we always talk about, hey, let's be smart football players, taking care of our body, making sure we're doing all the different things so that when we're ready to go and play, right, we've built our armor up so we can take the pounding of the season. He's been very unfortunate in terms of some of the injuries that he had, fluke injuries. But the biggest thing is I tell him, your best ability is your reliability and your dependability. And so that's something that he's shown through the offseason. He has worked his butt off. He's changed his body, right? And so far, in terms of what I've seen, right, he's done a great job of getting himself prepared for this upcoming season.
Hey, Randy, it's JP Finley from NBC Sports. Hope you're doing well.
What's up, JP?
How are you, man?
I'm good.
Let's fast forward a month from now, and you've got Geiss, Love, AP, a lot of guys that are going to want the football, and those guys will say things to you that they might not say to Ron.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance the egos, the desires, and just what they want to do out on the field?
Well, first of all, JP, I'm strolling through the names, right? And I just see, oh, there you go. Okay, I see it.
I'm holding the
Okay,
baby.
all right, okay. So the biggest thing is with Ron coming in, you know, on the back of our shirts, it says team, okay? All right, and so I've always been that way. You know, I played in a system where, you know, we had 3-4 guys. We had a short yardage goal line back who scored like Zach Crockett, who scored like 10 or 11 touchdowns. We had, you know, I played with Tyrone Wheatley. We always, and Charlie Gardner, we always say, hey, man, if you get near the goal line, you better punch it in because, you know, he's going to steal that touchdown. So the biggest thing is making sure they understand it's about winning. It's about winning. And if you're not doing all the things that we need to do as a group, as individuals that don't tie in with the team, and it's about the carries, and you have the attitude as, hey, everything is fine as long as I get mine, and we lose by 20. That's not the people that we want in that room. That's not the people that we want carrying the football. And they understand that. And I preach it all the time. And if we are winning and we're being a successful offense, you will have enough touches to go around. And so I'm always preaching that in terms of team. And so far, I've had really good feedback from the guys since I've been here coaching.
Thank you, Randy.
No problem.
Hey, Randy, John Kahn, ESPN.
John, what's up?
How are you?
Good.
I'm going to make you feel pretty good because you may have played with Charlie Garner. I covered him when he was in high school, so you're welcome. So, how about that?
Oh, man.
So my question, I got two things. One on the versatility of the backfield. Is this more than you've had in previous times? And what can be the result? Because there's a lot of focus on what you guys don't have in offense. How much can that offset what else maybe you guys need?
Well, John, that's a great question. First of all, I've been very blessed to be here as long as I have, and I know that. Okay, and I know that is not typical, but I'm very thankful for that. I think the number one thing is when you think about the flexibility of the players that we have. What it allows you to do is be able to be multi but basic at the same time and put stress on the offense. So if you have a guy like Darius Geiss and Antonio Gibson, and you say, hey, okay, look, we're going to put AP and Antonio in the game at the same time. Well, how do you treat Antonio? Do you treat him like a receiver? Do you treat him like a running back? Okay, where is he lining up at? Communication, right? Where is he in the formation? Is he a split out wide? Okay, now does a linebacker go out on him? Okay, do you feel comfortable with a linebacker covering a guy that has wide receiver skills? So, and then also it gives you flexibility in terms of your roster makeup on game day. So you say, okay, you got Antonio Gibson who can play kickoff return, right? A guy that can play on all four special teams, right? Which is valuable in this league. So I think the biggest thing is the guys that we have shown that they have flexibility across the board to be able to give your offense some flexibility where you say, okay, I don't want to go 3 wide receivers. Well, you got a guy like Darius who can catch the ball and put him in situations to do the same thing. So I'm excited to be able to have, this is the most flexibility I've had since I've been here, and I'm excited about it.
And then with Gibson, because he did play both spots in college. Played some. I think most of his action was at receiver, but he obviously played some running back. In an off season like this, in a training camp like this, what are the challenges for you to get him ready so that he can handle this? We know he's an athlete. But what are the challenges to get him ready at that spot?
Well, John, let me say this now. He's still Clay when it comes to running back now. I mean, he didn't sit in a lot of running back meetings and talk detail in terms of protections, knowing when guys are coming, being able to be fitting guys up and, blocking guys at a 245, seeing nickel pressures coming off the edge. Now, that's something that he knows that he's got to work at. But the thing that we've done is with Zoom meetings and also, the last couple of practices that we've had, we make sure that he gets enough receiver technical work with Haas, our receiver coach, and then he still has time to work on the fundamental techniques that he needs to play running back. So we've done a good job in terms of Coach Turner has, in terms of making sure that he's splitting his time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Randy. Random Walker with The Athletic. I'm liking the beard, Randy. It's looking nice.
Oh, hey, look, quarantine beard.
Get out here, I see. 2 quick questions. You mentioned Antonio Gibson getting that work with receiver. Obviously, the wide receiver run lost Kelvin Harmon and Cody Lattimore's on the commissioner exempt list. Do you feel like there's any possibility that we might see him moved over a little bit heavily there to kind of make up for the loss of the wide receiver? I know that Ron Rivera said they might look at bringing somebody in, but given his size, he's 6 feet, 228, kind of comparable to Terry McLaurin. Could you kind of see that with the offense with him?
Well, I tell you this, I'm not one to predict. I think, like we said before, is the fact that it gives us that flexibility, if need be. And I think that's really important in terms of numbers. That's the thing that I'm learning, just like you guys are learning. In terms of COVID, right? It's here. So if all of a sudden we have a couple guys, that boom, at the receiver position, you have another guy that's there that you can plug in. So I think that's, and he's doing a great job, and it's so funny. I gotta tell you this quick story. This is funny. He's, he goes back and forth in terms of formations, and so, and I'm quizzing him, I'm talking to him, and so I give him like this formation, and he starts telling me what the F is doing, or the receiver's doing. I say, yo, whoa, let's back this up. You the halfback, okay? And he said, oh, coach, I'm sorry, I thought I was at the F this time. So I think that he's really dialed in terms of what he has to do at the receiver position, but also at the running back position. But it does give you that flexibility.
Okay, there. The second question is, could you just kind of walk us through the thought process of bringing in a guy like a Peyton Barber? Just on paper, it looks like you guys have a lot of feedback with the age of Darius Geiss and Bryce Love. And JD, because you all lost Chris Thompson, but how does Peyton Barber fit? Like, what would you say is his wheelhouse?
Let's not forget about Peyton. You know, when we watched Peyton on tape, and obviously, you know, those guys being in the division, they got a chance to see him up and close. So I think he's a guy that's he gives you some thump. You know, just like Adrian does. Obviously, he's still got a lot of miles left on the tires. Got good vision, good contact balance. He shows the ability to catch the ball. I think he gives you depth at the position. Okay, which I think, like I said before, you always need. You can't have enough running backs. And I think that his experience, you know, he's a pro's pro. And that's the thing I love. You know, even J.D. McKissick, right, that we brought in. All the guys fit into what Ron wants to do, what the Washington football team want to do in terms of bringing in guys that aren't me guys, that are team guys, that want to help us get to being a winning team. So that's the thing that I'm really excited about him. He's going to do an excellent job for us when he comes in.
Thank you so much, Randy.
Hey, Randy, it's Chris Russell from 106.7 The Fan and SI.com.
What's up, Chris? What's going on?
Hey, thanks for doing this, man. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Just following up on McKissick, and I joined a bit late, so I hope I didn't miss this. You know, you talk about the overall versatility of all these guys and the skill set. What really stood out to you? Because when I didn't get to see him as much in Detroit, but in Seattle, I remember them using him out of the slot and out wide. And I mean, obviously, I know that you can use him in some funky formations as a runner. Like, what stood out about his skill set that really gets you juiced up there?
Well, I'll tell you what gets me juiced up. I love guys that are fire starters. And what that means, if you ever hear me say fire starter, is a guy that can strike a match and start a fire anywhere on the field. And that's what he does. I mean, like he can take it from anywhere on the field and go score 6 for you. He catches the ball extremely well. He's smart. Okay, he's smart. He can align in different formations. Okay, you can create mismatches. He's a danger, and he can be a danger in the return game. You know, he's covered kicks. He's a guy, in my opinion, the ceiling. Okay, he's got a lot of room before he hits that ceiling, and so just the initial in terms of Zoom calls. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. He fits what we want to do. Okay, in terms of his attitude, he's a pro's pro, and it just blew me away because you know I didn't know him, and the first time I ever talked to him, I was like, man, are you sure we're not kin? Because when we're talking, he's got a bright eyes. You know, he's ready to go. So he's a guy that I think that's gonna really help us out a lot because of experience and his ability to play the position.
Thanks, Randy.
No problem.
All right. Thanks so much for your time, Coach.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.